So Tony, what are the biggest mistakes you see in the way people use social media, and what do people need to be aware of when they're using it effectively for their business or their professional brand?
I think that social media is a great opportunity. It's a great, what I would call a touch point opportunity, a great way to tell a brand story. I think somehow, however, we tend to get confused between what I would call value and vanity, and there is this risk of being very egocentric. And it may come from a very good place, but in fact, to connect with people, we probably need to provide them with three things, or three opportunities to do social media well, in my humble opinion. One would be we need to connect to them through an emotion. So we want to provide something that creates an emotion, but not any emotion, an emotion that we want associated with our brand. The second thing would be to communicate learning or insight, to teach a lesson. Because when a brand does that, the audience, the customers are grateful for that lesson, and that also creates a connection with the brand. And the third thing, and I think this is the most powerful opportunity that any of us have on social media, is to create an experience through our content that allows our customers or potential customers to discover something about us that actually influences their perception of our ability to deliver on our brand promise. So that if you're sharing content of some sort, even if it's personal content for entrepreneurs out there, but that content allows somebody to go, oh, I've discovered that about that person or that business or that brand, and that reinforces for me my perception of their ability to deliver on the brand. That's very powerful. However, in any one of those three situations, if we post something that is a disconnect, that doesn't support our brand story, then we start a journey towards the other side, which is not social media, it's actually spam.
So I think that begs the question. A lot of what you said has begged the question. I know people will be thinking, should we have separate profiles for personal and professional?
This is a wonderful question. The challenge is that when you have a business profile on Facebook, there's some great advantages and there are some disadvantages. My personal opinion would be yes, separate your personal page from your professional page. Those who choose not to do it, beware, because your personal page has just turned into your business page, and therefore you need to treat it as a business page. I think that we often think that whether it's a personal page or a business page depends on what Facebook calls it. It has nothing to do with what Facebook calls it. It has to do with if you only have one page and you have a business, that's your business page regardless of what Facebook calls it.
So you have to be very careful. You can share personal things, but always have your brand in mind.
You can share a personal thing. For me, it's always about balance. It's always about how much personal we share versus how much content we share. And then the personal needs to be strategic. Those three things that I mentioned at the beginning. If I'm going to share a personal, now, there's always room for, I had a great vacation. But if you listen to somebody like the great Shep Hyken, he does a 95% versus 5% balance.
Okay.
95%, and that's our rule of thumb as well. 95% value and content, and that gives you permission to have 5% of stuff that isn't.
Really interesting. Thank you, Tony.
You're very welcome.